Hi, everyone. Great to see everyone in the comments. So yeah, I'm Nick. I started life out in the corporate world. So I actually worked at L'Oreal, the big beauty company, for 5 years doing brand marketing there. And then embarked on my own startup journey, which is what I'm sure you're all interested in. So I started a company called Design My Night, which hopefully the people from the UK will have heard of us. So we are a B2C discovery platform for going out, so similar to a timeout. We also pivoted that business halfway through into software. So then we built booking software for restaurants and bars like OpenTable, ticketing software for events, and then vouchering software for bars and restaurants too. So we became sort of like a multi-purpose place for restaurants and bars to come and use us, so they could promote themselves on Design My Night, and then we service their own needs with our software as well. We built that for 7 years. We bootstrapped it, so we only ever took $500,000 angel funding over those 7 years, grew it to a team of about 100 over in London, and sold that in 2017 for over $30 million. We had a 2-year earnout with them, our new owners. So I fully left in 2019. And more interesting for this chat, I started angel investing in 2018. So I've been angel investing since 2018, and I'm in about 58 startups from across the globe, pretty sector agnostic as well. My business partner and I set up a company called Horseplay Ventures, which is our angel investing arm, where we angel invest together. We provide free content for founders to help them. I've got my own podcast called Pitch Deck, which is around giving you advice on how to pitch for funding, sort of like a Shark Tank Dragon's Den in the early series, and then more of an advice-led one in the later series. So check that out. And I've actually gone ahead and started my next startup as well, called Trumpet, which is in the sales space. So if you want to look at what we're going to do there, that's on sendtrumpet.com. And yeah, that's the new startup, because I'm an absolute sucker for building startups.
It sounds like you've had an incredible journey, Nick. Just to know more about the investor kind of side and backgrounds, what are your top tips of putting an investor deck together? If someone hasn't done it before, what kind of would you tell them?
Yeah, so yeah, I get this question a lot, and I'll be totally blunt with all the listeners here. I see hundreds of decks a week, and I would say 95% of them are bad. So if you can put a very good deck together, it will instantly set you apart from all the decks that VCs and angels are probably seeing. My top tips. I'll actually just very quickly talk you through the slides. So if you've got a pen handy, everyone listening, I'll jot this down. So the biggest mistake I get is that a deck is too long. So, I see them that 20, 30, 40 slides even. I've spoken to hundreds of angels and VCs on my podcast, and myself on what I like. The biggest feedback that comes back is keep it short. On average, I think DocSend did an analysis that on first glance, an angel or a VC will spend 90 seconds looking at your deck. So you need to look at your deck and think, how much information can I get across in 90 seconds? So what that means is A, keep it very clean, not loads of text. Number 2, a good tip is the headers. Rather than just saying problem, use that to tell your story. Because actually some angels might only flick through and read your headers. So do problem and then what the problem is you're solving, all as the header. I've written down here, just before I jumped on here, 10 slides is what you can do it in. So number 1 is your problem. So what problem are you solving? Number 2 is the solution. So how are you solving that problem? Number 3 is the product itself. So a bit more depth on the product, maybe some screenshots if it's live, maybe some screenshots of your Figma or whatever if it's not live. Number 4 is the why you. So that is the team. So a lot of people bury the team slide further down, especially early stage. Your team, you, the founders, are the most important thing. So make sure with your team slide, another big mistake people make is they just have pictures of themselves and then logos of companies they may have worked at. When I see this, that doesn't really tell me anything. Like, you could have been an intern at Google for a week, but you still put the Google logo on your slide. So the people you're picking out to put on your team slide, do a few lines about why you're great for setting up this startup. And that's really, really important. Slide 5 is your traction. So how are you doing? If you're pre-launch or pre-revenue, who have you spoken to? For Trumpet in the sales space, we spoke to 200 salespeople before we even considered launching that. So in our traction slide, we were pre-product, pre-revenue, but we talked about the 200 salespeople that we spoke to, and the feedback they gave us. You can also put in this slide how you make money. So again, that's often missed, which is crazy, is what is your business model? How are you making money? Slide 6 is why now? So this is about industry tailwinds. So why is it the right time for you to be doing your startup? 7 is a controversial slide, but it's your TAM. So it's your total addressable market. Make these as realistic as you can. I think angels will roll their eyes when every TAM slide is 400 billion. So the more realistic you can make it and still show that there's good thought that's gone behind it, the better. Slide 8 is your landscape, so your competitive landscape. Be honest. Angels and VCs will obviously go and do their own due diligence. So if you've hidden competitors on there, we'll find out. So be very open and honest. And what is your USP versus those competitors? Slide 9 is your forecasts. So, early stage, this is a bit finger in the air. But you can list out where you hope to be over the next 3 to 5 years. Again, please be realistic. There's no point just lying on this slide saying year 1 50 million ARR, year 2 200 million ARR. That would just make you look a bit foolish from an investor's point of view. So be realistic on those financials. And the last slide, 10, is the raise itself. So how much are you raising? If you know your valuation or the valuation you want, put that in that slide as well. And just a small breakdown of where the funds are going to go is always helpful. So as you can see, you can do a really good deck in 10 slides, and angels and VCs will look at that very, very highly.
As you said before, kind of some of the mistakes you see in these decks, you must see thousands of decks the whole time. What kind of have been the biggest mistakes that you've seen in a deck?
So I think not designing it properly is a big thing. It sounds a bit superficial, but with tools out there, like Canva, and even like PowerPoint has its own templates now. I've seen decks that are either in like Word, that are just like a Word document, or just a blank PowerPoint white slide with just loads of text on. For me, that shows the founder isn't hustling enough, smart enough to think, okay, I can go and use Canva to go and make it just look better. And a huge mistake is B2C companies. So if any of you are doing a B2C company and you make the deck look bland, that's a big thing for me, because obviously you're going to have to be selling your brand and your company to the world, to the consumer. So if you can't make your decks look good, then that would be a big concern for me. The other thing is cramming it with words. No investor wants to read everything. That is what your follow-up calls are for, is where you'll dig a bit deeper. So keep it very top line, keep it very flickable. And I know a founder is so passionate about their business and they want to tell the investor everything, but the deck really is not the place to do it. You've got to think of your deck as a brochure, and you only want to give them the top line, get their interest, get that 30-minute call. That's what it's all about. So that's super important. And yeah, I think that's the main ones. And just making it way too long. Just an investor, to be totally honest, if I open a deck and I see it's like 22 slides, I probably won't even read it. So you'll be missing out on a lot of potential people reading your deck if you just create this really large thesis.
Great. I know the main topic of this masterclass is how to win over investors, but you have to obviously get to the investors first. So what kind of is your top tips for outreaching to investors cold if you don't have any relationships with them beforehand?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's one I get a lot because, yeah, look, not everyone has networks, and I totally get that. You might not know investors or anything like that, and I can confirm that like cold outreach does work. So I have invested based on cold outreach. For Trumpet, actually, 2 of our 4 VCs were from cold outreach as well. So cold outreach definitely does work. The tip I can give you for cold outreach is number 1 is personalization. So an angel or a VC can clearly see if you've just written this thing before and just copied and pasted it to loads of angels. That is a big no-no. What you need to do, and look, it takes a lot of time to raise money. So what you need to do is draw up your list of VCs and angels that you want, and then go and look at their profiles. So from my point of view, the best ones I see are, hey, Nick, loved what you did at Design My Night. We're actually in the SaaS space too, so it's similar to the way you sold to restaurants at Design My Night. I've also looked at your Horseplay Ventures portfolio, and we've got you've got 3 companies that you've invested in there in a similar mindset to us. So I think we'd be a great fit. So that's your personalization intro. And then do like 2 or 3 bullet points about the business. Again, nothing long. So we are solving X, Y, Z. We have this much traction. Please see our deck. So very short, very personalized. Again, not long messages. I'm sure all of you, if you get a long email, you open up that email and you're like, oh God, I'll get to that later. Investors are the same. We get hundreds of deck emails. And if there's a long one that you have to read through, you're like, oh, I'll get to that another time. So same with LinkedIn messages. I've got about 200 unread messages, and I'll just sometimes do a day of going through them all. And if it's a very long message, to be honest, I won't even read it. So very short, very snappy, personalized. If you want to drop in a personalized Loom video, maybe doing like your 30-second elevator pitch as a video, because, you know, then we get to see the founder behind who's writing the message. That's good too. And always attach your deck. I see so many that do that intro and then say, do you want to see my deck? And yeah, that's why we're here. I don't want to have to type another few messages just to get to the deck. So just get the deck out there as soon as you can. Definitely don't do NDAs. I don't know any angel that would sign an NDA. You've just got to be very, you know, that is just the way of the world. Like when you start raising money, your deck will get out there, and you just have to be ready for that. It's incredibly rare that someone's going to copy your idea. It's incredibly, incredibly rare that an investor or a VC is going to copy your idea. This comes back to research though. So if a VC has a competitor to you in their portfolio and you send them the deck, they will probably share that with the competitor. So that, again, that all goes down to research. Make sure you know who you're pitching to, and don't pitch VCs, especially if you don't fit into their thesis. So every VC will have on their website, this is what we invest in, this is what we like. So, you know, if they only invest in deep tech and you're a new supplement, a B2C supplement, you're wasting everyone's time and you look silly. So those are the tips for outreach. Outreach does really work, but you need to put in the time. It's like a sales process. So you will probably have to outreach hundreds to get maybe 20 or 30 calls. And then out of those 20 or 30 calls, maybe only one will invest. So it is a pipeline game.
Would you recommend looking for investors on LinkedIn, or is there any other services that you can find investors to reach out to?
Yeah, so there are sort of databases out there. I'm actually an investor in one called Landscape. So I think it's landscape.vc, which is like a new database, which has reviews as well of the VCs. So actually founders are reviewing the VCs. It's a nice little spin. So worth checking out that. There are lists out there as well. I mean, if you just Google like, best early stage VCs UK, you'll get blog articles. Angel List is another good one. But yeah, at the same time, most angels and most VCs are either on Twitter or LinkedIn. So yeah, go and engage with their content. If you know you're going to be raising in like 3 months, mark who you want to go after, start engaging with their content, start liking their content, start commenting or retweeting their content, and then they'll start to see your name. And then when you land in their inbox, they'll be like, oh, I know Sarah. She's commented on my comment. I'll see what she's got to say. And if you've done that and then do the tips on personalized outreach and then have a 10-slide deck, if the idea is a good one, you'll then be in a much better place to get that 30-minute call.
Amazing. Some really incredible valid points. And I hope you guys take them all on board. What are your views on bootstrapping versus angel investment versus VC investment?
Yeah, it's I got a bit of heat because I'm a big bootstrap advocate, because that's what we did to Design My Night. And Trumpet, we raised VC money, pre-product, pre-revenue. So two very different ways that I've done it. And there is no right answer. I think you'll see, very bootstrap advocates slagging off VC money, and you'll see VCs that want to go fast slagging off slow founders that do bootstrapping. But the real answer is there is no right way to do it. What you need to do as founders is sit down and think what journey you want to go on. And that's something founders don't do enough for me. So what do you want out of this? Apart from running your own business and the fun, let's say, that comes with starting your own business. And I'm sure a lot of you maybe are doing impact ones. So you want to change the world for good, which is awesome. But what do you want at the end of it? And that comes down to an exit, if we're honest. So do you want to IPO? Do you want to become a unicorn? Do you want to make £2 million in 3 or 4 years? Do you want to make £10 million? And if you really start to granularize actually what is the end you want, you can then start plotting the journey you need to go on. So for example, if you and your founders think, after 5 years, if we can take £3 million each, that would be totally game changer for me in my life. So then if you need to make £3 million, you then, you wouldn't go down the VC route because they need you to be much bigger. And then you can think, okay, well, I need to keep this much equity and sell the business for X for me to get my 3 million. And you might think, okay, well, actually, with 2 angel rounds of, let's just say £200,000, I will then retain 40% equity. And then actually, I only need to sell the business for £6 million to get my £3 million. If you do want to go on that unicorn journey, sort of boom or bust, then you'll need to go on a VC journey. You're going to give up a lot of equity. So you need to be generating hundreds of millions of ARR and go global. And that's probably a 10-year plus journey. And that's a totally different way of looking at it. So the best advice I can give is for you and your founders to sort of agree where you would like the endpoint to be. Obviously, things are going to change, but if you start from that point, that will set you on a good tone on the path to go down.
Amazing. Just one more question, and then we'll go into Q&A. So kind of the main topic is how to win over investors in the first 30 minutes. What are your main tips?
So on that 30-minute call, if you've done everything I've said on the outreach side, they'll be looking quite favorably at you. Again, if the idea is a good one. On that call, for me, the important thing is don't just go over the deck. So they've seen the deck. So you've got to be very strategic in those 30 minutes. They're jumping from call to call to call to call. So they don't just want this one way, bland, you just reading through the deck. They've seen the deck. That's why they're having that call. If you think that 30 minutes is going to go very quickly, you'll do introductions of them, which will be 5 minutes. You'll probably introduce yourself and where you're at. That's 5 minutes. So now you're down to 20 minutes. You'll do a wrapping up. That's 5 minutes. So now you're down to 15 minutes. So suddenly you've got 15 minutes to get across what you want to get across. So what you really need to think is, what are the 2 or 3 things I really want them to know and go away with about why we're awesome and why they need to back us? And you need to get those things in. A good way of doing that is if you do have a product demo, and with Trumpet, we actually showed them our Figma because we didn't have the product. So we literally walked through our Figma and I just got across the 3 points that I really wanted them to know about how we're thinking and what our vision is for this product. And a very good thing to ask at the end is there anything that concerns you about what I've said? Is there anything that's not clear with what I've said? Like, throw it back to the angel or the VC, because that associate that you're speaking to on that first 30-minute call, they then have to sell you internally. So if they're not clear, if they've sort of misunderstood what your actual vision is, then they're not going to sell you properly internally. So that's a really powerful question to ask at the end. And the final thing I would say is always follow up. So a good tip is, once you've had your call, you've got your template ready to go, you follow up straight away. Hey Claire, great to speak to you. I just wanted to reattach our deck. I just wanted to give you a YouTube link of a minute video demo of our product. And just for your records, I've also attached our culture doc about our values and culture as a team, and the type of company I want to build. Something like that is very powerful, steps you aside from different founders. And again, they've got something to then share on internally, and they will share that email, and they will see that you're a founder that is just a cut above the others.
Thanks for sharing that. And I hope everyone listening can take all this knowledge in and, go and pursue it afterwards. If you've missed any of these points, there will be a recording on YouTube afterwards. So don't worry if you couldn't write it all down. But yeah, we'll go into Q&A now, and quite a few questions that have come in. So Rachel says, I'm designing an app to help with a life-changing situation which touches on a few areas of mental health, well-being, and science. How do I go about getting a realistic valuation pre-launch? Any tips?
Yeah, so I think a big tip I say pre-launch is, and if you're not a second-time founder and stuff like that, so if you're going in cold, new founder, not a huge network, you need to be really realistic with your valuation. And a good tip for this is just not following the norm of pre-seed, seed, Series A. You can just do sort of smaller rounds before you even almost get to your seed. So what I would recommend is think, how much money do I need to get this app launched and get some early traction? So let's say it's 80 to 100 grand. We'll go out and raise that at a low valuation. So go and raise 50 to 100 grand at a million valuation, let's say, or 900 grand valuation. Get interest, then go and get some traction. Then you can go and raise again. So now I'm going to go and raise 150 grand at, again, a sensible valuation, maybe just 2 million this time. And then once you've given away a bit of early equity, but at a low, you're raising low, so you're not going to give away too much, but then that allows you to get some money in, get some traction. And then if you want to do a proper seed round when you've got traction, that's the best way to do it.
Okay, amazing. Do you recommend any books for raising capital?
No, is the short answer. Maybe I should write one. I think it's because
maybe you should.
I think the landscape changes so much that it's really not rocket science. The tips I've given you today. Look, I'm not saying I know it all, but it's all quite basic tips. And actually, all you need to do when you're raising is get that first 30-minute call, and then it's down to you. And no one can coach you really on selling your brand, selling your vision, selling yourself as a founder to back. That has to come from within. So whether you get sales coaching or projection coaching or something like that, but actually getting that first 30-minute call is those outreach tips that I've given you. It's not more complicated than that.
Perfect. What do you think of a pitch video instead of a deck? Would you follow a link to a video from a cold call email, or would you follow a link from a deck only?
I prefer to have a deck because, so for example, if I know I'm going on a train or I'm going on the London Underground where there's no reception and I know I need to look at a few things, I might download a few decks onto my phone and look at them when I've got no reception. And obviously a video, it's harder to do that. So I think a little video intro is good, but your whole deck, I would have something down that someone can read and look at when they want to look at it.
Okay, what is Figma?
So Figma is a design tool. So a lot of product designers use Figma to scope out documents. Just sold to Adobe for billions.
Andrew said, "What's your thoughts on launching a product/service into a very large expanding market?"
That's quite a broad question.
Yeah, might need to expand on that, Andrew.
Very large expanding market. Is if you then want to raise money, is go and prove that. So go and get traction, speak to your customers. If you haven't got product yet, just go and interview as many people you can in that market. And then when you've got that TAM slide of a market that's expanding, that's great. On the why now slide, you've got your tailwinds about that market expanding. And then you'll have on that traction slide that I've actually gone and spoken to 100 people that would be potential customers. And this is the feedback they've given me.
Okay. Mark says, should we raise money from friends/family first before seeking external investment?
I mean, if you can, obviously there's lots of people that don't have the fortune to have friends and family that have spare money to back them. So if your friends and family do have cash, then 100% try and go and get that first 50 grand or 20 grand just to get you going. 100%. What I will say though is do it properly. So go and get an investor contract from Seed Legals or other boilerplates are out there. Don't just take the money, because then it can get a bit messy down the road. So do give them a valuation. Do it properly, because you'll set yourself up for family problems down the line otherwise.
Right, we'll take one more question from Carrie. I want to create a website, but it will cost so much to make. Can I pitch about having it made yet? Can I pitch with just the content, or do I need to start it first? I have done some market research.
So I don't know what the website is on. Like, my argument would be that with Squarespace and Wix and Webflow, actually it can cost you as little as $50 to spin up a website. So I would recommend going to try one of those just as a framework to show an investor rather than going in cold. I don't know if you're a designer or not. If you're a designer as well, then, have the mock-ups. Why don't you design the mock-ups of the website and then do what I said? So then maybe go and raise 50 grand at a very low valuation to go and be able to build the website, and then raise again to get your traction, and then go and do a proper round.
Amazing. Sorry if we haven't had time to answer your questions. Nick, where can people reach out to you if you have any spare moments to answer questions from today?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place. Nick Towson on LinkedIn. Just to be clear with everyone, at the moment, my personal funding is closed for about 6 months. So happy to help with quick questions and answers. But at the moment, I'm not investing. I'm supporting the portfolio that I've already got through this tough time. So yeah, unfortunately, don't pitch me for money. But yeah, if you've got a quick question, happy to help on LinkedIn. And thanks for having me, and good luck, everyone. Cheers.